Namaste everyone. Hope you're enjoying the reflections of inner self from all of the Sukshmas here in Vancouver. Of course, physically we are in Vancouver, but our consciousness is all over the universe. So we are all connected at that level, even though physically we are all separated by space and time. In fact, in today's reflections, I would like to talk a little bit about or reflect a little bit about a very interesting topic that came up again on Facebook. Facebook is kind of driving the discussions and reflections these days, but it's a nice thing because it's very practical. It's questions from different friends of mine or people who are connected to me via Facebook. So the last week, the post was, catch that thing which leaves the body after the last breath, and catch or connect to that thing which is behind the mind projecting the movie of our life. So the questions from people is how do you catch that? And in fact, it was the same question that I had for a long time from my childhood. I used to contemplate a lot on death. I used to think, even funnily, what would happen to my parents after they die, or what would happen to me after they die. So I used to think about death from very early on. And then during the journey of life, I read a little bit here and there about ancient wisdom, spirituality, and understood that there is something called spirit or soul. But again, never had time or opportunity to explore this until I came to Master Sunita 8 years back. Even though I have been using the word soul before that, I have zero understanding of what it is and what the experience is like. So the question is, what is the soul? How do you catch it? Let me give a simple and straightforward answer without beating around the bush. To get that experience of soul or soul consciousness, it is not that easy. It is impossible rather to figure out by yourself or myself unless we are born enlightened beings like a very few masters are. A few people, few blessed, I would say, like Master Sunita, understand the soul consciousness and experience the soul consciousness from the time of their birth. But a few realize it later because of certain events in life maybe. But 99.99% of us cannot just simply experience the soul consciousness and be in that state of soul consciousness all the time. I know there are a lot of people who do say that, yes, the witnessing consciousness is soul consciousness. Yes, I agree with that totally. The witnessing pure consciousness is the soul consciousness. But how easy it is to get into the witnessing state? Yes, observe the observer. So observing myself is soul consciousness, or witnessing myself or my own self, my thoughts, my body, when I am in that witnessing state is the soul consciousness. But can we stay in that state for a long time? Because thoughts keep coming. Body is performing the duties and actions. So we are distracted by both. So how can we exist in that soul consciousness? So to get to that state of soul consciousness and live in that state of soul consciousness, one has to go beyond what we talked in the last time called as the false ego consciousness, false identification with the body and mind. Have to stop. But how do we stop that? Unless we experience the soul consciousness, there is no way we can stop it. We can just stop identifying with something, because we always in this life, as long as we are breathing, we have to identify with something. So that identification from mind and body consciousness has to shift to soul consciousness. So that shift is not that easy unless we experience it, like we have discussed in the last reflections. Unless we really experience the soul consciousness, there is no way for us to even understand what it is. So one simple straight answer is, we need a pure divine master, not the one who teaches a technique. Techniques are there everywhere today. There are so many people out there. Even I can sit here and gather 10-15 students, and I can teach all that my master has taught me in the last 8 years. I can teach the technique of pranayama, I can teach some yoga techniques, but it is not the technique, but it is the pure consciousness of the master which actually works like a laser. And only such masters who can travel in the consciousness, who can go from beyond the state of body and mind and connect to our soul consciousness, can bring that experience. Otherwise, it is simply impossible. And how can I say that so concretely? Because I myself have tried that. I have tried just practicing on my own before I met Master Sunita, and even after meeting Master Sunita, I have taken some breaks and I have experimented on it just like a science experiment, and I have understood that it is not easy for ordinary mortals like us to just instantly go into soul consciousness or catch that consciousness or awareness, that pure awareness which is behind our mind and the body. Yes, ancient wisdom also says that there are 4 paths to live in that soul consciousness state. One is karma. Karma is performing, karma yoga is performing the duties without depending on the fruits of action. So you don't worry whether your action is going to yield a positive result or a negative result or no result at all. So performing duties like that in a state of consciousness where you are not even thinking about the next moment. So you're basically living in the moment, performing a duty, going to the next duty, without using your mind about the result, which is very, very difficult to do. Very, very difficult to do. But it is possible once you again experience soul consciousness. So karma yoga is one path. There is a path called Raja Yoga, which is yoga and meditation. Through meditation, yes, one can go beyond the mind and body consciousness and live in soul consciousness. But again, we discussed that already. It is not that easy. I can give lectures for hours together. You can meditate. Yes, you can relax a little bit. You can calm your mind down to a certain extent. But unless you are already at a certain level of consciousness which is higher, or unless you are already born with that soul consciousness state, it is not that easy to use meditation and yoga and be in that soul consciousness state. So yes, it is possible, but again with the help of a pure divine master working one-on-one with you. And next, there is another very interesting path called Bhakti Yoga. It is through the prayer to the highest being, supreme being, call it God, call it by any name in any culture. But the essence there again is Bhakti Yoga, the devotion, the deepest devotion is so high that you completely surrender your mind, your body, every thought of yours to that highest supreme. You believe that every action of yours, every thought of yours is completely coming from that highest source, and surrendering and living in that pure devotion. And there are some saints we know in all the cultures, in across all the religions, who have done that. So you can achieve that soul consciousness state through the Bhakti Yoga. And then finally there is the Jnana Yoga. Jnana is absolute knowledge, not just the knowledge. So absolute knowledge is wisdom, highest wisdom. The wisdom which takes you to the source. It's not wisdom which argues about the truth, it is not about relative truth. It is not about logical interpretation of a concept. It is absolute realization and absolute completeness of the source. That is Jnana. Not just reading the books, not just digesting the matter and material and talking about it. It is the experience of that knowledge. Again, remember the word experience of the absolute knowledge, absolute wisdom. And again, from my experience, it is not easy to read books, and you can get some logical understanding and you will have some of those aha moments like, oh yeah, that's right, yeah, now I understand the mind. But it is not that easy to remember all that you read. It just vaporizes very quickly, and again we are back to our day-to-day routines, our normal attitudes, our tendencies, and our vices that are residing in the deepest layer of our subconsciousness. So you cannot just get away from your vices that easily. Over a period of time you may be able to overcome a few, but the seeds of those vices are the tendencies or patterns that are in your subconsciousness. So you cannot just overcome those that easily. Unless one overcomes those, it is not easy to experience soul consciousness, because these seeds are going to keep sprouting and disturbing that soul consciousness again, and your mind is going to reflect or project those seeds onto the screen of this pure consciousness. So, dears, my experience personally, to experience that soul consciousness, to catch that which is beyond the mind and body, the transcendental experience, is not that easy to do on your own. You need a good master. I know there are a lot of people out there who say that yes, you can do it, but all of them who are saying that actually had a good, pure master behind them who helped them to elevate to that high states of consciousness and experience the soul consciousness. Later, you can go write about all these things in form of books, you can give lectures, you can talk about it, you may even teach, but unless we purify to that highest state of consciousness, it is impossible to experience it. And the beauty of Master Sunita is, again, it might be difficult for many to understand, even imagine that this can happen, but it is happening, it has happened, it will continue to happen with a pure master like Sunita Bapuji, because she works with pure consciousness. And like I said in many of my past reflections, Master always used to emphasize on the word purity. She always said, Suman, purity is very important. And in the beginning, I did not understand what it was. And today, I 100% understanding of what she's talking about. Pure consciousness, devoid of the vices, devoid of any kinds of past tendencies, devoid of older vices that live in our system or habits that live in our system, going beyond those. And only an ancient master who has come into this world with such level of purity can instantly give us that experience. Of course, like I said in the past again, some of us keep that experience and some of us let go, because again, soul consciousness is something like you experience it, but if your tendencies, if your vasanas and the kleshas in your subconscious are so stronger, then you are going to go back to them. That is why it is important to continue with the master. It is like any other subject, like I said in the past again. It is like mastering a subject, a science or medicine or engineering. You have to spend a certain amount of time and years to sustain it. Yes, master gives that experience. If you are very smart, or let me say if you are very soulful, then you can easily, quickly get on to it. But we all know, with practice, with devotion, with discipline, everything is possible. Today, we talk about people who climb to the top of Everest, Mount Everest. We keep listening about youngest people, like 12-year-old, 13-year-olds able to get onto the Mount Everest. Or I have even read an article recently about an 85-year-old woman getting onto the base camp of the Everest. All these are possible with devotion, discipline, and practice, correct? So if we can practice at a physical level, apply all this to at the physical level, we can also apply it at a deeper level. It only just takes the will, and that will is easily possible when you are under a master. Isn't it so simple? Like, you want to climb Mount Everest, you have to train for it. You have to have a master, you have to have a guide who can coach you, you can mentor you, who can teach you and guide you, and when you're falling down or when you're not able to make it, should lift you up and help you cross the hurdles. Same applies to the journey of catching the soul consciousness or living in the soul consciousness. You need a master who can connect with you at the consciousness level, and only such masters can keep lifting this consciousness. Like, there will be traps, there will be hurdles, there will be all kinds of problems in the beginning, and with that unconditional love and the pure consciousness, a divine ancient master can easily lift. This is what used to happen in the ancient times like Satya Yuga, the age of pure truth, absolute truth, those times these masters used to exist, whose only mission and vision was to give that pure consciousness and help people to elevate to the highest states. But over a period of time, with modernization, with commercialization, with money, greed, name, fame, power playing into the picture, all these have disappeared. We have lost it. But I tell you, even today, we are fortunate to have such a great, divine, purest of the pure, ancient master living amongst us, a very simple life like any of us, who is an incarnation of pure innocence, like a pure divine child. Thank you very much again, dears. So I have answered the question in the beginning. All the thing that happened in the middle was an explanation and my experiences to reflect on that answer. Again, I will conclude it with that same answer, that it is not that easy to experience soul consciousness or catch that which is behind the mind and body on your own. You need guidance of a pure divine master. But you can start wherever you are, at least to adopt some practices of meditation and mind control, not control necessarily, taming the mind rather, and doing some physical activities like yoga or tai chi, whatever physically appeals to you. Start doing it so that you can start to condition it, you can start to tame the body and mind, and then hopefully you will be able to meet ancient masters like Sunita in your lifetime and able to experience that soul consciousness. Thank you very much for taking time to listen. I know you've been very patient, and I am very, very honored and pleased to have been able to share this with you. So take care, dears. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May the whole universe be in pure divine bliss. God bless.